The email confirmation glowed on my laptop screen, a beacon of long-awaited freedom. 6 years of sacrificing weekends, birthdays, and my 20s, and finally, my dream job was within reach. A senior relocation consultant role at Hartley & Combine in London. A chance to escape the endless cycle of obligations that had drained my savings and my spirit. My name is Claire, and if I'd known what was coming, maybe I would have celebrated more cautiously. As I printed my flight itinerary and tucked it into my worn laptop bag, I noticed the house was quiet when I got home. Too quiet. My mother's SUV sat in the driveway, its glistening, polished exterior a stark contrast to the financial chaos that loomed within those walls. I hesitated at the door, fingers trembling slightly. I had sacrificed so much to keep this house running, and the thought of finally breaking free sent a thrill up my spine. But I should have known better. "Claire?" My mother's voice cut through the darkness as I stepped inside, flicking on the hallway light. She was perched in her favorite armchair, a half-empty wine glass balanced on the armrest, her expression a blend of irritation and disapproval. "We need to talk." "Can it wait? I have a lot to do," I replied. My mind already leaping to my packed suitcase, the fresh passport tucked between layers of carefully folded clothes. "I canceled your flight," she said, her voice steady, her eyes sharp. It felt like a slap, quick, unexpected, and stinging. I blinked, trying to process her words. "What?" "I used your booking reference," she continued, swirling the wine in her glass, her red nails catching the light. "Told them there was a family emergency. They were very understanding." I felt the world tilt slightly beneath me. 6 years of holding this household together, of covering mortgage payments, utility bills, and medical expenses. 6 years of being the responsible one while my mother indulged in shopping sprees and my brother Ben coasted through life without a care. "You had no right," I whispered, my voice a tight thread stretched to the breaking point. "I have every right," she snapped back, setting her glass down with a sharp clink. "This family needs you. We can't manage without your support." I heard the front door slam and turned to see Ben, swaggering in car keys dangling from his finger. He shot me a smirk, clearly in on whatever scheme my mother had cooked up. "Hey, sis," he said, tossing his keys onto the console table. "That BMW payment is coming up. You got me right?" The room felt smaller, the walls closing in as my heartbeat pounded in my ears. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "You can't do this," I managed, trying to keep my voice steady. "I've given up everything for this family. I can't keep doing this." "And where would you be without us?" My mother shot back, her eyes narrowing. "All those times we supported you, fed you, housed you. This is how you repay us, running off to London, abandoning us." I felt a bitter laugh bubble up in my throat. "Support? What support?" My mind flashed back to nights I spent calculating how to stretch my paycheck to cover both Ben's credit card bill and Mom's spa treatments. The sacrifices I made so they could live comfortably while I put my dreams on hold. "I'm done," I said, my voice growing stronger. "You can't hold me here, not anymore." My mother leaned forward, her face a twisted mask of outrage. "Don't you dare talk to me like that, Claire. I am your mother. You owe me." I took a step back, my fingers tightening around the strap of my laptop bag. I could feel the weight of my own freedom slipping through my fingers, but for the first time in years, I didn't feel fear. I felt clarity. "No," I said quietly, my eyes never leaving hers. "I don't owe you anything." With that, I turned and walked upstairs, locking my bedroom door behind me. I leaned against it, my pulse thundering in my ears. I could hear my mother's muffled curses. Ben's laughter, the clink of glass as she refilled her wine. I opened my laptop, fingers flying over the keys as I drafted an email. If they wanted a fight, I would give them one. Subject notice of utility service termination. As I hit send, I felt the first real stirrings of freedom in my chest. They had underestimated me. That was their first mistake. I wouldn't let it be their last. The next morning, I woke to the sound of my phone vibrating aggressively on the bedside table. I blinked at the bright screen. Dozens of missed calls from my mother and Ben, each one angrier than the last. I ignored them, my mind already spinning with the next steps. Downstairs, the kitchen smelled like over-toasted bread and cheap coffee. Ben's idea of breakfast. I paused at the top of the stairs, listening to their voices. "She's ungrateful," my mother hissed. "After everything we've done for her," Ben grunted in agreement. "She's always been dramatic. She'll come around. She has to." I felt my jaw tighten. They still thought they had control over me. Still believed they could guilt me into staying into giving up my dreams for their comfort. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. They had no idea what was coming. I stepped into the kitchen, making no effort to hide my presence. Both of them went quiet, their eyes snapping to me like a pair of cornered animals. "Morning," I said, moving to the coffee maker, deliberately pouring myself a cup as if I hadn't heard their whispered conspiracy. My mother's face tightened. "We need to talk, Claire." I leaned against the counter, taking a slow sip. "About what? How you canceled my flight, or how you've been draining me dry for years." Ben chuckled, a low, mocking sound. "Oh, come on, sis. Don't be so dramatic." I set my cup down, the porcelain clinking against the countertop a little too sharply. "Dramatic. You think this is dramatic? You two have been bleeding me dry for 6 years. I paid for your car, Ben. I covered Mom's credit cards. I kept this house afloat while you both acted like royalty." My mother's eyes narrowed, but I saw the flicker of panic there. "We're family," she snapped, her voice rising. "Family takes care of each other." I felt a bitter laugh rise in my throat. Funny how that only seems to work one way in this house. I saw Ben's smirk falter, his confidence wavering. He shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting away. "Good, let them squirm." "I'm done," I said. My voice steady, each word a small, deliberate cut. "I'm moving out. I've already started the process of transferring all the utility bills out of my name. You'll have 30 days to figure it out." My mother's wine glass hit the table with a sharp clatter, a splash of red sloshing onto the white tablecloth. "You can't do that," she spat, her face pale. "You can't just walk away." I smiled, cold and unflinching. "Watch me." Without another word, I turned on my heel and walked back upstairs, my heart pounding, but my mind clear for the first time in years. I had given them too much power for too long. That ended today. Back in my room, I opened my laptop and started pulling up documents. The utility bills, the mortgage, my bank statements, all the financial proof of my sacrifices. I forwarded copies to my work email, making sure they'd be safe if my mother tried to delete anything in a rage. My phone buzzed again. This time a text from my best friend, Riley. "Riley, heard from your mom. What's going on? Are you okay?" I sighed, typing back quickly. They canceled my flight, tried to trap me here again, but I'm done. I'm moving out." The reply came almost instantly. "Riley, about damn time. Need help packing. I'll bring pizza." I smiled, the first real one in days. "Yeah, thanks." I set my phone down and took a deep breath. The storm was coming, and I was finally ready to stand in the center of it. Downstairs, I heard my mother's voice rise to a fever pitch, her anger echoing through the thin walls. Ben's deeper tone followed a mix of outrage and panic. They were realizing, perhaps for the first time, that their golden goose was about to fly the coop. I smiled again, my fingers dancing over the keyboard as I drafted a new email to my London employer, confirming my commitment to the job despite my delayed flight. I wasn't letting them ruin this for me. A fresh wave of resolve washed over me. They had underestimated me for too long, seen my loyalty as weakness. But they were about to learn a harsh lesson. I wasn't weak. I was just done. 2 days later, the first utility notice arrived. I was in the middle of sorting through my closet, deciding what to pack and what to leave behind, when I heard my mother's shriek from the kitchen. I smirked, tossing an old hoodie into the donation pile. Right on schedule. I leaned against my doorframe, listening as her footsteps thundered up the stairs, each one a furious stomp. She burst into my room, a crumpled letter in her fist, her face flushed and her eyes wild. "What is this?" she demanded, shoving the paper toward my face. I took it from her, pretending to read it carefully, even though I already knew what it said. "Notice of service termination," I replied, folding it neatly before setting it on my dresser. "You'll need to put the electricity in your name from now on." Her jaw dropped, eyes wide with disbelief. "You can't be serious. You know we can't afford that." I met her gaze, unflinching. Not my problem. For a second, just a split second, I saw the real fear in her eyes. The dawning realization that I was serious, that I was really going through with this. But then she straightened her face, hardening into that familiar mask of indignation. "You ungrateful little—" Careful, I cut her off, my voice low and steady. "Choose your next words carefully." She opened her mouth, then closed it again, her face pale, her hands shaking. Without another word, she spun on her heel and stormed out, slamming my door so hard that the frame rattled. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding, leaning back against the wall. My heart raced, but a small, fierce part of me felt lighter, like I had just cut the first of many chains holding me to this house. Later that evening, I heard Ben's car screech into the driveway, followed by the sound of his heavy boots on the porch steps. He burst through the front door, his voice echoing through the house. "Claire, what the hell is this about my car payment?" I rolled my eyes, pulling my bedroom door shut and turning up my music to drown him out. Let him figure it out. I was done being his ATM. I spent the rest of the evening boxing up my things, each item a small act of liberation. Old textbooks, family photos, the graduation cap I never got to wear because I had to start working full-time to support them. Piece by piece, I packed away the life they had stolen from me. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. A message from Riley. "Riley, landlord just texted. Your cousin's condo is ready whenever you are. Keys in the lockbox. Want me to swing by tomorrow?" I felt a surge of gratitude, my chest tightening with a mix of relief and excitement. "Me, yes, please. I owe you big time." "Riley, you owe me nothing. You've given enough to those leeches. It's time to live for you." I set my phone down, leaning back against my pile of half-filled boxes. She was right. I had given enough. It was time to start living for myself. The next morning, I woke to the sound of my mother's voice outside my bedroom door, a thin, brittle edge to her tone. "Claire, we need to talk. You can't just leave us like this. We're family." I closed my eyes, letting her words wash over me without sinking in. I had heard it all before. The guilt, the manipulation, the desperate clinging to a version of family that only existed when it served them. "Claire, I'm talking to you!" she shouted, slamming her fist against my door. "Open this door right now." I took a deep breath, grabbing my phone and scrolling through the emails I had sent the night before. Termination notices, address change requests, the final draft of my resignation letter. It felt good seeing my escape plan laid out in black and white. Finally, I stood crossing the room and unlocking my door. I met my mother's furious glare head on, my heart steady, my mind clear. "I'm leaving," I said simply, my voice calm but firm. "I'm moving out. You have 30 days to figure things out. Maybe start by getting a job." Her face twisted, a wild, panicked look flashing in her eyes. For a second, I thought she might actually hit me, her hands clenching and unclenching at her sides. "You'll regret this," she spat, her voice shaking. "You'll come crawling back." I stepped back, letting the door swing slowly shut between us. "No," I said softly as the lock clicked into place. "I won't." I heard her retreating footsteps, the muffled sound of her sobs as she stumbled down the stairs. But I felt no pity, no second thoughts. I was done being their scapegoat, their financial safety net. I turned back to my half-packed room, my heart lighter, my steps surer. I was done being a prisoner in my own life. Moving day came faster than I expected. Riley showed up bright and early, a box of donuts in one hand and a roll of tape in the other. She shoved the box into my arms as soon as I opened the door. "Breakfast of champions," she said, stepping past me into the chaos of half-packed boxes and hastily taped cartons. "Let's get you out of this hellhole." I smiled, taking a deep breath as I closed the door behind her. The house felt different today. Smaller, more claustrophobic, like the walls themselves were trying to push me out. "Where's the dragon?" Riley whispered, peeking into the kitchen. "Out for a brunch meeting with her wine club," I replied, rolling my eyes. "Ben's out too." I made sure to pick a time when they'd both be gone. "Smart move," she said, cracking her knuckles. "All right, let's get to work." We spent the next few hours hauling boxes down the stairs, shoving them into the back of her beat-up SUV. It felt good, each thud of a box hitting the trunk a small, satisfying echo of my freedom. As we loaded the last of my clothes, I caught a glimpse of my mother's prized crystal vase sitting on the entryway table, the one she had bought with my first bonus check. I paused, a wicked thought flickering through my mind, but I shook it off. I wasn't going to stoop to their level. "Hey, Riley," called from the driver's seat, leaning out the window. "You good?" I snapped out of my thoughts, forcing a smile as I climbed into the passenger seat. "Yeah, just ready to go." The drive to my cousin's condo felt like peeling off a suffocating mask. With every mile, I felt lighter, like the invisible chains around my ankles were finally breaking. Riley chatted away about the latest office gossip, her words a comforting hum in the background as I watched the familiar streets blur into something new. When we pulled into the parking lot, she turned to me, her face suddenly serious. "You're really doing this, huh?" I met her eyes, my heart swelling with a mix of fear and excitement. "Yeah, I really am." She reached over, squeezing my hand. "Proud of you, Claire. Seriously." I felt a lump form in my throat, but I swallowed it down, forcing a shaky laugh. "Don't get all sentimental on me now. We still have to haul all this crap upstairs." She laughed, rolling her eyes. Fine. But you're buying me lunch after this." We spent the next hour lugging boxes up to the third floor, collapsing onto the couch when we were finally done. I looked around the small sunlit space, bare walls, empty shelves, the faint smell of fresh paint. It felt like a blank slate, a fresh start. Riley stretched her arms above her head, groaning. "I can't believe we did all that without a single wine break. We're basically superheroes." I snorted, nudging her with my foot. "Speak for yourself. I'm pretty sure I pulled something." She rolled her eyes, pushing herself off the couch. "All right, I'm going to grab the last box from the car. Be right back." As soon as the door clicked shut behind her, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. A text from my mother. "Mom, where are you? Why aren't you home?" I let out a slow breath, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. For a brief moment, I considered telling her the truth, letting her know exactly where I was and why I was never coming back. But I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the send button. Instead, I locked the phone and tossed it onto the couch. Let her stew in her own paranoia. I was done explaining myself to people who never bothered to listen. Riley returned a few minutes later, plopping the last box onto the coffee table. She flopped back onto the couch beside me, letting out a dramatic sigh. "All right, now that we're officially moved in, I say we celebrate. Wine, pizza, both." I smiled, leaning my head back against the couch, my body aching, but my heart light. Both. Definitely both. We ordered a large pepperoni, popped open a bottle of cheap white wine, and sprawled out on the floor surrounded by unpacked boxes and half-empty glasses. "You know," Riley said, swirling her glass, "I always knew you'd get out of that house one day. Just didn't think it would take you this long." I snorted, tossing a crumpled napkin at her. "Yeah, well, better late than never." We clinked our glasses together, the sound echoing off the bare walls, a small, satisfying reminder of the freedom I had finally seized. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the living room floor, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. I had done it. I had broken free. But as I sat there, the glow of my phone screen casting a soft, ominous light on the stack of unopened boxes, I knew this wasn't over. My mother wasn't the type to let go easily. She would come for me. She would try to drag me back into her twisted version of family. I took another sip of wine, my jaw tightening with a fresh wave of determination. Let her come. I was ready for her. A week after moving into my cousin's condo, the first sign of my mother's retaliation arrived. A letter thick and crumpled with my full name scrawled in sharp, angry handwriting across the front. I found it in the lobby mailbox wedged between a stack of junk flyers and a glossy real estate catalog. I stood there for a moment, the cool, metallic air of the lobby settling into my lungs as I stared at the envelope. I considered tossing it straight into the trash, letting her words rot unread in the bottom of a plastic bin. But curiosity won out. I ripped the envelope open, leaning against the wall as my eyes scanned the tightly packed lines of ink, her words slashing across the paper like the sharp edge of a broken bottle. "Claire, how dare you? After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me, abandoning your family, leaving us to struggle while you run off to live your selfish little fantasy. You have no idea how hard things have been for us, how much I've sacrificed to keep this family together." I felt my jaw clench, my fingers tightening around the paper. The audacity, the complete lack of self-awareness. Ben can't make his car payment because of you. The utilities are overdue. I had to cancel my spa appointment this week because I had to cover the gas bill. This is not what family does, Claire. We take care of each other. We don't walk away when things get hard. I snorted, a bitter laugh echoing in the empty lobby. Spa appointment, gas bill. She made it sound like I had thrown them into a gutter like they weren't the ones who had drained me dry for years. You will regret this. You think you're so smart, so independent. But you're nothing without us. You'll come crawling back. And when you do, don't expect us to be here waiting. I folded the letter neatly, slipping it back into the envelope before shoving it into my pocket. I took a deep breath, feeling my heart slow, my mind clearing. Her words were meant to cut, to drag me back into her web of control and manipulation, but they only served to harden my resolve. When I reached my apartment, I tossed the letter onto the kitchen counter and grabbed my laptop. If she wanted a war, I would give her one. The next few hours passed in a blur of emails and phone calls. I contacted every service provider, ensuring my name was completely removed from every bill, every contract, every financial tie that linked me to that house. I canceled every auto-pay agreement, closed every shared account, and updated my address on every single document I could find. I even reached out to my bank, locking my accounts against unauthorized transfers. I wasn't taking any chances. By the time I closed my laptop, the sun had dipped below the horizon. The condo bathed in the soft orange glow of early evening. I leaned back in my chair, feeling a deep, satisfying ache settle into my bones. My phone buzzed, the screen lighting up with a text from Riley. "Riley, drinks at Casey's tonight. You need to celebrate your freedom." I hesitated, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. I felt a strange pull, a whisper of my old self, the girl who would have dropped everything for a chance to escape her suffocating home life, even if just for a few hours. But I wasn't that girl anymore. I was done running, done hiding. I'll meet you there in an hour. I set my phone down, glancing around the small, cluttered apartment. Boxes still lined the walls, a testament to my fresh start, my unfinished escape. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past week settle into my shoulders. Then with a small, determined nod, I stood grabbing my jacket from the back of the chair. I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the hallway mirror as I passed, tired but free. I locked the door behind me, my footsteps echoing down the empty hallway as I made my way to the elevator. As I stepped into the cool night air, I felt a small, fierce smile stretch across my face. My mother's words still echoed in my mind, but they felt distant now, like the ghost of a long-dead threat. She had underestimated me for the last time. 2 weeks after I cut the final financial ties to my family, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the decline button, but something made me answer. "Claire," a strained voice crackled through the line, the sound of shuffling paper in the background. "It's your Aunt Lorna." My pulse quickened. I hadn't spoken to my aunt in years, not since she and my mother had a falling out over a forgotten loan and a ruined Thanksgiving. "Hey," I said, leaning back against the kitchen counter. "Long time." She let out a long, shaky breath, the kind you take when you're trying to gather the courage to say something hard. "Listen, I didn't want to get involved, but I thought you should know. Your mother's been, well, let's just say she's been making some interesting calls lately." I frowned, my mind racing. "What do you mean?" "She's been calling everyone in the family, telling them you've abandoned her, that you've left her to rot in that big house with no support. She's painting you as the villain, saying you ran off without a word." I felt a bitter laugh bubble up in my throat. Of course. The classic move. Play the victim, rewrite the narrative, drag my name through the mud to salvage her own. "Thanks for the heads up," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. Claire Lorna continued, her tone softening. "I just wanted you to hear it from me before you got blindsided at the next family gathering. You don't deserve this. You did the right thing." I felt a lump form in my throat, a mix of relief and old, unresolved anger tightening my chest. "Thanks, Lorna. I appreciate it." We said our awkward goodbyes, and I hung up, staring at my reflection in the dark screen of my phone. I had known this would happen, had prepared myself for the inevitable backlash, but hearing it out loud still stung. For the rest of the week, the calls and texts came in waves. Cousins, aunts, even a few family friends, all either demanding an explanation or offering whispered support. I ignored most of them, letting their messages pile up in my voicemail like the boxes I still hadn't unpacked. Then 3 days later, I got the call I had been dreading. Claire. My mother's voice, sharp and cold, cut through the line. I was wondering when you'd finally work up the nerve to call, I said, settling into the worn couch, my heart thudding in my chest. What the hell do you think you're doing? She hissed, her voice dropping into that dangerous low tone I had learned to fear as a child. I leaned back, forcing my body to relax, refusing to let her rattle me. Living my life, cutting the dead weight. There was a stunned silence on the other end, a sharp intake of breath, the sound of a glass clinking against a hard surface. I could picture her now, wine glass in hand, eyes narrowed, her perfectly manicured fingers trembling with rage. You're making a mistake, she spat, her voice dripping with venom. You're going to regret this. I felt a strange, cold calm settle over me, the kind that comes when you realize you have nothing left to lose. No, I said, my voice steady. My only mistake was letting you manipulate me for so long. But I'm done. I'm finally done. She let out a bitter, humorless laugh. You think you're so strong, so independent. But you'll come crawling back. You always do. I closed my eyes, letting the weight of her words wash over me, the echoes of a lifetime of emotional blackmail fading into the background like distant thunder. No, I whispered, my grip tightening around my phone. Not this time. I hung up before she could respond. My heart racing, my mind buzzing with a strange electric energy. I dropped my phone onto the coffee table, leaning forward as the reality of it hit me. I had finally done it. I had severed the last fraying thread that bound me to that toxic, soul-crushing life. I felt the corners of my mouth curl into a small, defiant smile, my pulse slowing as the adrenaline faded. I was free. Later that night, as I sipped a glass of wine on the small balcony overlooking the city, my phone buzzed again. I picked it up, half expecting another barrage of guilt-laden texts from my mother, but it was just a simple message from Riley. Riley, proud of you. Drinks tomorrow. I smiled, the city lights reflecting in the glass as I typed back. Me, absolutely. I set my phone down, leaning back into the cool night air, my mind finally quiet, my heart finally at peace. For the first time in years, I felt like my own person. Not a daughter, not a sister, not a sacrificial lamb, but Claire. Just Claire. And for now, that was enough. Story 2. The invitation printed on cream-colored cardstock that most likely cost more than my weekly shopping budget arrived on a Tuesday. In glistening gold ink, my mother's flawless calligraphy wrote, "Family Reunion Dinner." Without reading the rest, I nearly erased the picture that my sister Cadence sent. My name is Ella, and I was slated to become a lawyer until 3 years ago. I currently have 2 million subscribers on YouTube and look into social justice and business malfeasance. My professional change hasn't been entirely forgiven by my family. Really, you're going? Jordan adjusted her camera gear and asked. In my workplace at home. We were getting ready to record a program on local eateries stealing wages. Your mom spent 20 minutes watching TikTok videos on her phone and discussing how influencers are destroying society the last time you visited your family. I also used the monitor to check my makeup. However, this is not the same. In a month, Dad will turn 60. Perhaps they've finally come to terms with the fact that I won't be returning to law school. Jordan gave a snort. Yes, and I may be a duchess in disguise. The huge colonial home shouted old money and old judgment cadences just as I recalled. Along with a number of other high-end cars, Tesla was already parked in the circular driveway. I failed to realize. My mother, Ella, sweetheart. Lucille's voice reverberated around the well-kept yard. My senses were overwhelmed with her characteristic Chanel No. 5 as she air-kissed each of my cheeks. You appear at ease. I looked down at my silk blouse and jacket. Thank you, Mother. She led me to the house and said, Cadence just made partner at her firm. Franklin has been vying for that judgeship, and he has been shortlisted. That's fantastic, I said, pointing out that she had already included my sister's accomplishments into the first 30 minutes of our chat. Over 300 workers received back compensation as a result of my most recent exposé, which had 5 million views. Oh, you continue to make such short movies in your home. A casual family supper was attended by more people than I had anticipated. Rather than attending a casual reunion, aunts, uncles, cousins, and other family acquaintances wandered about all dressed as though they were at a charity banquet. Like she was filming a scene for Dynasty baby sister Cadence came down the grand staircase. My automobile is probably worth less than her fancy clothing. Franklin, her spouse, trailed behind, grinning as usual. We weren't expecting you. I wouldn't miss it. I'm surprised to see the entire extended family here for dinner, I added, giving her 2 firm embraces. Father demanded. Her response was fluid. You are aware of his strong belief in family unity and heritage. Stanley showed up at my elbow, speaking of Father Edmund. I'm holding a martini. Well done for joining us, Ella. He cleared his throat. I hope you're exercising caution when it comes to your internet exposures. I would want to avoid any legal issues. Dad, don't worry. I have good attorneys. I neglected to explain that last month they had assisted me in overthrowing that dishonest councilman. The dinner was a well-planned event. I realized right away that I had been sitting in the middle of the long table with family members, sat in concentric circles around me resembling a tribunal of sorts. My mom was constantly checking her watch, and her cosmetics was set for the camera. When I noticed that my cousin was filming everything on his phone, the first red flag went out. A projection screen had been discreetly put up behind the dessert table, and that was the second thing I saw. My mom got up and used the silver spoon to tap her wine glass. With the exception of the faint clicks of many phones going into video mode, the room became quiet. Tonight, we're all here, she said, her voice shaking with practiced passion. Ella, because we adore you. My stomach sank as I noticed Jordan, who I had invited as my +1, covertly touching something on her phone beneath the table as the projector buzzed to life in my peripheral view. My mom went on, "This is an intervention." Her eyes were gleaming with tears. "Because we can no longer watch you ruin the name of our family and yourself." A meticulously prepared montage of my most contentious videos devoid of context and designed to portray me as an erratic attention seeker flickered to life on the screen behind her. A peculiar calm settled over me as my sister stepped up to give what was obviously a planned speech. They believed they were putting on an intervention to protect their image. They were unaware that they would be included in their own takedown video. Cadence walked around the table like a prosecutor on her way to a witness stand, her heels clicking on the wooden floor. Concern has grown as we've seen you discard everything we've given you. She started off with a voice full of experience, worry about being accepted to a renowned law school, making connections, and having possibilities. Despite my hands shaking a little beneath the table, I maintained a bland expression. The projector kept switching between selected snippets of my footage moments that were altered to make my fervent reporting appear out of context. My mother said, wiping at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief, "Your behavior has become increasingly erratic. Attacking well-known business executives, promoting nonviolent protest. You mean bringing corruption and wage theft to light?" Despite the knot in my stomach getting bigger, I broke off my voice study. With his business lawyer smile fixed firmly in place, Franklin leaned forward. "Allow your relatives to speak, Ella. We are available to assist. Everyone around the table." Phones kept recording. With regret, Aunt Margaret shook her head. Uncle Robert averted his gaze as his wine glass captivated him. In fact, my cousin Tracy grinned. Particularly worrisome was your most recent video on that development endeavor, Cadence continued. Are you aware that you could face legal action? Jordan looked at me from the other side of the table. She confirmed that everything was being recorded for our live feed with the smallest nod. I carefully responded that the development project was constructed on property that had been unlawfully taken. My father sneered, "The evidence is irrefutable evidence. YouTube views and social media likes aren't evidence, Ella." A fresh slide caught their eye as they looked for the projector. Screenshots of my vid's remarks. They had chosen just the worst ones, the threats and the trolls. Naturally, they had disregarded the thousands of encouraging comments and testimonies from those I had assisted. My mother pointed to a distinguished-looking man I had never seen before and added, "We've consulted with Dr. Harrison. His areas of expertise are personality disorders and social media addiction." The physician cleared his throat. "I'm rather worried about grandiose thinking and attention-seeking behavior based on what your family has told me." "Fascinating," I interrupted. "Given that you haven't met me or even had a session with me, is using manipulated video snippets to make a diagnosis morally acceptable?" A whisper ran among the gathered visitors. Dr. Harrison moved uneasily. "We are referring to precisely this type of antagonistic deflection." Cadence continued. "Ella, you're not feeling well. You require assistance. Expert assistance. A private facility has already been arranged with. A building." There was no humor in it, but I laughed. "You're attempting to get me to commit." "It's a wellness retreat," my mom said abruptly. "Extremely discreet and exclusive, where I can remain hidden until I consent to live my life in your manner." With my chair scuffing the floor, I slowly stood up. "An intervention is not what this is. It's an ambush." "Sit down," my dad said. "You're creating a commotion." "No. The scenario was created by all of you. You appeared in front of my entire audience as I took out my phone and turned it to display the screen. When Cadence saw the live audience count, her face lost its color. 47. 892 and growing. "Switch that off right now," my mom gave a hiss. Why, I inquired, obviously considering my viewers as well as the crowd in person. "Are you not pleased with this performance? The produced movies, the well-planned talks, the doctor who was compensated. You worked so hard on it." Franklin stood suddenly. "This is private family company. You have no right private." As I looked through my phone, I saw emails that indicated you had been preparing for this for months and advising everyone on how to respond. Hiring a public relations company to handle the aftermath. "You're demonstrating our argument." Cadence's flawless poise was crumbling as she snapped. "You intended to expose me because of your preoccupation with exposing others and making everything into content." Calmly, I answered. "To publicly humiliate me in front of friends and family." However, my sister, you overlooked a crucial point of public humiliation. It is reciprocal. The live-streamed conversation was going crazy. My family's actions were denounced in a barrage of comments which also shared similar accounts of poisonous relatives offering support if you don't immediately stop recording. Leaning closer, Cadence said in a poisonous whisper, "You don't know what you're doing to yourself." I slowly looked into her eyes. "I do, in fact. The finest taught me. You taught me all I know about ruining someone's reputation, after all. I only treat those who deserve it differently." The first visitor got up and left. Then another. My family was aware that the well-planned intervention was coming apart. However, this was only the start. They want to dismantle me. I was going to demonstrate to them the true meaning of becoming viral. My mother's oldest friend, Mrs. Swanson, declared, "This is disgusting." She picked up her high-end handbag. I was informed that this was a drug misuse intervention, not this carnival, whatever it is. My mother's controlled exterior gave up a little. "Save it, Cynthia." "Lucille, I have viewed all of Ella's videos. You're all attempting to gaslight her when she's working on critical projects." Mrs. Swanson looked across at me. "Continue revealing the truth, my love. In fact, some of us value that." As she left, the live stream discussion was ablaze with admiration for Mrs. Swanson. Notifications, shares, comments, and supportive messages were coming in quicker than I could handle, and my phone was buzzing nonstop. My father's face reddened, and he requested that it be turned off. "Now shut off that fucking feed, or what I posed a challenge. Without dinner, you'll send me to my room, Dad. I'm 30 years old. Your threats are no longer effective." Jordan got up and took a camera recording everything from a new perspective. By the way, in case someone is considering attempting to remove anything, the backup files have already been uploaded and secured. Franklin took his phone out. On the screen, fingers are flying. I'm going to call our lawyer. Privacy laws are being broken by this. Well, I did interrupt. When it comes to recording, Connecticut is a one-party consent state. I agree, and I am one of the parties here. But do give your lawyer a call. He would undoubtedly enjoy hearing about your attempt to force me to commit, based on a diagnosis made by a physician who never saw me. More visitors started to leave, whispering to one another. The meticulously planned intervention was falling apart. With her mascara now a little smudged and actual tears on the verge of streaming down her face, my mother had stopped wiping her eyes with her handkerchief. You took hold of my arm and dragged me away with your ungrateful little cadence. Are you aware of the harm you are causing to this family, displaying their true selves to them? I pulled my arm away. Or are you concerned about what else could surface once excavations begin? In her gaze, something flickered. Perhaps fear. What are you discussing? You know exactly what I'm talking about. I didn't actually, but her reaction informed me there was definitely something worth pursuing. The hired doctor had already slipped out, probably scared about his medical license. My father was on the phone with someone speaking in rough whispers. The remaining guests clustered in small groups, iPhones out, perhaps already scanning social media for the aftermath. This ends now, my mother stated, arriving with her own phone out. I'm going to call the cops. Jordan departed to report. What? That your daughter recorded? Are you attempting to make her seem bad in public? Do it, please. The cops would undoubtedly be thrilled to discover the proof of premeditation. We've gathered. My mom lowered her phone with a trembling hand. Do you desire war? My ear was hissed by Cadence. You don't know what you're doing to yourself. We'll bury you. I looked at her to make sure her face was captured on video. No, darling sister. You attempted to bury me already. You dug a grave for me, and now I'm coming up with receipts. What's going on? Staring at her phone, Tracy inquired. Is popular on Twitter right now. Franklin took his wife by the arm. Before things worsen, we're heading out. Worse, I called out to them. Yes, it is undoubtedly becoming worse. Perhaps you should check your email later. There are some intriguing documents circulating, I've heard. You're playing a bluff. But Cadence's voice faltered. Do I recall the lesson you gave me about preserving evidence for emergencies? I discovered that by witnessing you annihilate your law school competitors. Jordan and my immediate family were the only people left after the other guests hastily excused themselves and left. At last, my dad hung up the phone and came over, his face pale. The director's board has already called. To no one in particular, he said. This is becoming widely shared. When you attempt to use shame as a weapon, that is what occurs. As I gathered my belongings, I responded, It backfires sometimes. Please. My mom made one final attempt. We are able to remove this. Act as though it never occurred. Like you spent 3 years acting as though I didn't exist. I made my way to the door. Jordan, just behind me. It's too late. The internet never forgets. Jordan whistled and checked her phone as we arrived at my car. Someone recently gave a really intriguing suggestion regarding cadence in your Harvard application from years ago, and there were 500,000 views. Now that we were alone, I finally let my hand shake as I turned on the engine. Forward it to my secure email address. We're only beginning to uncover what my ideal sister has been concealing. I have a feeling. As we drove away from the house where I grew up, the notifications continued to arrive. The meticulously crafted facade of my family's reputation was already starting to fall apart behind us, and I was only just getting started. Jordan said, looking through her laptop, Holy eshgit. These emails are between Cadence and your mother. This takedown has been planned for months. We were cooped up in my home office, keeping an eye on last night's aftermath. 2 million people had watched my live stream, and the number was still growing. The trend was toxic family intervention. Take a look at this one. Jordan swung the screen in my direction. We must ensure that she is portrayed in the story as unstable rather than defiant. It is admirable to be rebellious. Her credibility will be ruined by unstable. It buzzed on my phone. My media contact Rachel is contacting me for the 3rd time today. At last I picked up. Without introducing herself, she continued, "Please let me know if you're prepared to go on record." It's an explosive story. It's not just a quotation I'm sending you. Check your email in 5 minutes, I answered. Complete records of their planning, including payments to the doctor who attempted to diagnose me without ever having met me. Jesus, Rachel took a breath. It is really immoral. This will be desired by his medical board. On my screen, a notice appeared. Ross, the councilman I exposed for accepting bribes last month, sent me a direct message. "Don't you think karma is a bitch?" He composed. "You were right about me for what it's worth. I was worthy, but this is simply being harsh. If you require a statement regarding your techniques and credibility, please let me know." Jordan straightened his posture abruptly. "You must see this, Ella. Your mom hired Preston and Associates 3 months ago, according to financial records I uncovered. What for from the PR firm, too? Additionally, control public opinion and prevent possible harm to one's reputation. They spent $50,000 on a 3-month campaign. I reclined in my chair and let that to sink in. They tried to ruin me for $50,000. Hold on, there's more." Jordan swung his fingers across the keyboard. "Additionally, they engaged a private investigator to look into your source's friends and personal life." And I mumbled, "Amateur move." By now, they ought to be aware. I never release anything without thorough documentation. Once more, my phone buzzed, from Mrs. Swanson via SMS. "Just now, your mother attempted to have me kicked from the hospital board for helping you. The exchange was captured on tape. I desire it. They're collapsing." Jordan watched the trends on social media. "The number of comments about your sister's legal practice is overwhelming. They have a conflict zone Yelp page. Just as I was going to reply, I saw an email notification. The subject line stopped my heart, even if the sender was anonymous. 2011 Harvard acceptance class." "What is it?" Jordan inquired after observing my face and my hands mild trembling. I clicked on the attachment. It was a scanned copy of a letter from Harvard University that was dated 12 years ago. "We are happy to notify you of your acceptance, Miss Stanley." "It's not possible," I muttered. "I never received a letter of acceptance. They turned me away." "Read on," Jordan said. A series of emails appeared beneath the scanned letter. Immediately, my sister's name and that of a former admissions officer jumped out. It was a short but devastating exchange. "We have completed Ellis Stanley's application withdrawal as requested. Please make sure that this satisfies your father's donation arrangement requirements." My phone rang. Rhythm. I responded after 4 rings, but I remained silent. "Whatever you believe you have discovered," her voice was tight as she began, "it is not what it appears to be." "Really?" "Because it appears that you and Dad plotted to have my entrance to Harvard revoked, in order to spare you from having to compete with me." There. A lengthy silence. "You were the golden child all along." At last she spoke. Flawless grades. The priceless prodigy of everyone's favorite father. I had to take my future in order to level the playing field. "Oh, please." I could hear the tremble in her voice as she mocked. "You were accepted to other schools. You went on to practice law. Almost, that is." "What's fascinating, you know." I spoke steadily. "If an attorney lied to obtain admission benefits, I'm sure the bar organization would have some opinions. You'd be foolish to observe me." I hung up and looked at Jordan. How quickly can a film on long-term family betrayal be put together? Keep it heartfelt but ambiguous. Let's see how many folks figure out what's going on. As she spoke, she opened her editing program. "How about these Harvard papers?" I gazed at the proof of my sister's treachery. Years of introspection and self-doubt abruptly came to a chilly realization. For now, hold them. I made the decision that before we abandon the nuclear option, we should see how they respond to the initial exposure wave. Another SMS rang on my phone. The story will go live in 1 hour, Rachel. You're prepared for this, right? I remembered what my sister had said all those years ago, the ones that kept repeating in my head whenever I had self-doubt. You simply aren't Harvard material, Ella. I'm prepared. I responded to the text. It's time to prove my worth to them. Greetings from my channel again. I maintained a steady voice as I spoke straight into the camera. The video for today is different. It has to do with family treachery and the excuses we tell ourselves for our shortcomings. From behind the camera, Jordan gave me the thumbs up. For this video, we had spent hours perfecting the tone and lighting. I believed I wasn't good enough for my ideal school 12 years ago. I thought I had failed. All of my subsequent decisions, including enrolling in a law school I had no interest in, were influenced by that conviction. Once more, my phone buzzed rhythmically. I didn't answer the phone. But here's the thing about lies, I continued. They leave paper trails. They leave witnesses, and ultimately they come to light. The video was hardly live for 5 minutes when the comments started coming in. Wait, is this about Harvard OMG? Did her sister genuinely undermine her acceptance? No surprise, she quit law school. It was never her decision to begin with. My phone rang again. This time it was Franklin. Take down the video, he commanded without greeting. Cadence is having a panic attack. I said, funny how that works. There were many people who thought I wasn't worthy of attending Harvard. Her career might be ruined by this, as if she had destroyed my opportunity to attend my ideal school. Tell her to continue observing. This is only a sneak peek. After hanging up, I turned to face Jordan. How is the reaction explosive? Rachel's piece was just out as well. Already other publications are picking it up. The Harvard admissions office sent me a note via email. Regarding your question concerning your 2011 application, please contact Miss Stanley. This time give my dad another call. I let the voicemail go. Now you've actually done it. His message was heard. Your sister is crying. Your mom keeps throwing up. Was this what you were hoping for to ruin your family? Rich. From the man who paid to have your admittance to Harvard revoked, Jordan whispered. A text message from Mrs. Swanson appeared on my phone. I just received a tearful call from your mother pleading with me to help control this. I advised her to consider the repercussions before attempting to institutionalize you. The remarks on the live feed continued. This clarifies a great deal about the intervention. They attempted to have her committed because, like them, she was exposing corruption. Have someone check on the sister. The webpage for her legal company is unavailable. Ella Jordan yelled. This is something you must see. She showed me a hurriedly posted statement from Cadence's legal firm as she turned her screen. We are investigating the claims that are making the rounds on the internet. Another text message from an unknown number buzzed through my phone. Margaret from Harvard Alumni Affairs is here. There were other instances of improper admission involving your sister besides that withdrawal request in 2011. My phone showed my mother's name before I could comprehend that. I replied against my better judgment. What are you looking for, please? Her voice was rough as she cried. Stop this, please. This is something we can resolve. We can now get you accepted to Harvard. Your dad has contacts. Still attempting to steer the story. It's too late, Mom. The facts are previously known. You have no idea how this will affect us, to our standing. I do, in fact. The point is that I hung up and returned my attention to the camera. It's time to shoot the second installment. I started, you know what's interesting about family secrets? They are similar to dominoes. When one goes down, they all begin to tumble. Jordan read something on her screen and her eyes grew wide. Hi there, evidence that Cadence's LSAT results were manipulated before being sent to law schools was just sent. My phone came back to life. Rachel is phoning. You're viewing this, tell me. When I replied, she said, 3 more students from your sister's year are coming out regarding dubious admissions conditions. This goes beyond simply accepting you. I reflected on all the years I had spent questioning my own worth and feeling inadequate while my sister had constructed her ideal life on false pretenses. "What should we do next?" Jordan inquired. "The camera is still moving." Knowing that Cadence would be observing, I stare straight at the lens. When I first launched this channel, wherever I discovered corruption, I vowed to expose it. I never imagined that my own family would have it. However, here we are. I inhaled deeply, and this is only the beginning. One revelation at a time, my sister's meticulously crafted world was collapsing somewhere across town as the view count increased and the comments poured in. Karma occasionally requires a little assistance to go viral. Breaking news. As evidence of long-term academic fraud surfaces, Ella's viral exposé of her family's attempted intervention has taken an unexpected turn, according to the anchor. After turning off the television, I looked at Rachel, who was going over papers that were strewn all over my dining room table. According to her, 3 additional students have come forward, all of whom stated they were inexplicably placed on wait lists at prestigious law schools. Cadence was accepted that same year. A text message from Franklin's legal practice buzzed across my phone. "We regret to notify you that your sister has been placed on administrative leave while an investigation is conducted due to recent occurrences." With her laptop in hand, Ella Jordan rushed into the room. "This is something you must see. Your family's group conversation from the previous year was exposed. They were damning screenshots. My mom's writing is turning into a liability. Her most recent investigation is approaching people we know too closely." Cadence answering. "Let me do it. I know just how to make her look bad." When someone knocked on my door, we all leaped through the crowd. My father was standing there by himself, looking rather unkempt. "Should I contact security?" Jordan inquired, grabbing for her phone. "No." As I opened the door, I said, "Let's listen to his thoughts." I had never seen my father look that ancient. His normally flawless hair was unkempt and his tie was loose. "Can we have a conversation? Simply speak." Although Jordan and Rachel were witnesses, I let him entry. He started to say, "Your sister," but stopped, swallowed. "Cadence has been admitted to the hospital. Anxiety attack. Your mother hasn't left her bed in 3 days." "That seems like a them problem," I answered harshly. He begged, "You're still family. We can repair this in spite of everything. Make it disappear. Make it disappear." I chuckled, as though you were trying to force me to leave that wellness center or erase my Harvard acceptance. He winced. "Harvard was unknown to me. It was between you and your sister." "Quit lying." My hand smacked into the table. "Dad, I have the receipts. You donated to Harvard the same week that my application was rejected." Cadence's look was changed by the threads you pulled to obtain his LSAT results. "When the ash turns gray." How did you? Investigative journalism is what I do. I do it. Perhaps if you had really seen any of my short films, you would have been aware that Ross, the councilman I had exposed, had left a message on my phone. "You just received a call from your sister's company. A thorough audit of every case she handled is about to begin." Now this goes beyond family drama. "Your sister's whole career is collapsing," my father said. "Did you wish for that?" "No, father. I desired the truth. Cadence is being held accountable for her own behavior. There is a distinction." "Please." It was his final attempt. "I still consider you my daughter." "Am I, because you were prepared to have me committed for tarnishing the family's reputation the previous week? Look where we are now." It chimed on Jordan's laptop. Another statement was been made by Ella Cadence's legal company. They are assisting with the inquiry being conducted by the Bar Association. With his head in his hands, my father collapsed into a chair. Our whole structure was based on false information. I was done. And now everyone is aware of it. It buzzed on Rachel's phone. An exclusive interview is desired by a major network. Prime time is what they're providing. Yes, tell them. I said, keeping my gaze fixed on my dad. Everyone needs to hear the whole story. You'll ruin us entirely, he said. No, father. That's what you guys did. All I'm doing is illuminating the devastation. He stood slowly, trying in vain to fix his tie and restore his composure. Your mom was correct. Years ago, before you began to ask questions, we ought to have stopped you. However, you didn't. I've also gotten pretty adept at both asking and answering questions. He turned around as he got to the door. You are aware that there is no turning back now. No family dinners, no holidays, no reconciliation. I thought about the years of manipulation, the stolen opportunities, the attempted intervention. Good, since I don't want to come back. I want to move ahead without any of you. After he departed, Jordan brought up the newest social media numbers. I had doubled my number of subscribers. Ella's justice was a national trend. In 17 nations, the family betrayal video went viral. Are you all right? Rachel asked quietly. I checked my phone. Dozens more messages from individuals with like tales of manipulation, betrayal, and family. People who were moved by my tale and felt heard, seen, and validated. Yes, I said as I picked up my camera. I am prepared to shoot the following segment. People must understand that they are not the only ones who are against toxic families. You may not always deserve the family you are born into, and devastation isn't always the greatest form of retaliation. It's living a good life and speaking the truth even if it offends someone. The interviewer Ella leaned forward, her face ideally suited for primetime empathy. Remember the first time you were aware that your family was planning an intervention? Despite the bright studio lights, I managed to keep cool. After all, I was used to being in front of cameras. It was my first time appearing on national TV. I believe that a part of me always anticipated something. I retorted that you get a sixth instinct for their strategies and the planned live broadcast when people try to dominate your story for years. Let's just say that I always save receipts since I learned from my mistakes. A screenshot from the intervention was displayed by the interviewer. It looks like your sister Cadence is in the lead here. What were you thinking about? Sincerely. I was reflecting on all the times she had told me I wasn't good enough and how she had consistently presented herself as the responsible, successful one. We now understand why. In my pocket, my phone buzzed. Franklin's legal practice is likely to issue another cease and desist. In the last week, I had been given 6. The interviewer went on to say that the academic community has been rocked by the Harvard news. There have been several investigations started. How would you respond to those who believe that your exposure of this went too far? Just because corruption dresses in fancy clothes and calls itself family, doesn't mean it should be protected, in my opinion. The interview went on with each question getting more incisive. While the evidence on the displays behind us spoke for itself, I calmly and collectedly addressed each one. I got a thumbs up from the people on the wings halfway through Jordan. Support was erupting on social media. This morning, your mother issued a statement. Taking out a card, the interviewer said, "Do you want to listen to it?" "Yes," I said, but my gut grew tense. Our family has been severely harmed by my daughter's behavior. Even if our strategy for assisting her may have been flawed, her spiteful reaction has irreparably damaged her. We hope she finds serenity and reverts to the principles we instilled in her. I couldn't contain my laughter. The morals they instilled in me, such as fabricating academic qualifications or using strangers as physicians to diagnose patients. The interviewer pointed out that those values were strong words. As is usually the case, Rachel texted me right after the interview. "You are popular in 32 countries. I've never seen anything this large." With his tablet in hand, Jordan greeted me in the green room. A thorough internal audit of every case Cadence handled over the previous 5 years was just released by her legal practice. They are concerned about possible fraud elsewhere. How does she feel about it? Social media claims that she hasn't left her home in days. Outside, the press is camped out. I didn't recognize the number that rang on my phone. A recognizable voice spoke when I responded. This is Dean Roberts from Harvard Law, Miss Stanley. We have looked over the proof you provide about both your sisters and your own admission. If you are interested, we would like to give you a full scholarship to attend. I inhaled deeply. Thank you. But no, that dream belonged to a different version of myself. I'm precisely where I need to be now. After hanging up, I turned to Jordan. Ready to film the follow-up video? She nodded, putting up the camera. What's the angle? The truth. Sitting in front of the cameras, I spoke about how falsehoods ruin while the truth may hurt, and how family secrets don't shield anybody. The red light kept blinking. I addressed everyone who has ever been urged to keep silent for the sake of the family, while staring straight into the camera. My family made an embarrassing attempt to silence me a week ago. They believed that by using flowery language and feigned compassion, they could hide the truth. Rather, they gave me the most valuable lesson I've ever learned. However, there are instances when you need protection from those who say they would protect you. Once more, my phone buzzed. From Mrs. Swanson via SMS. Your mom just quit her position on 3 charity boards. Cadence is no longer a member of the country club. Isn't karma a powerful force? I went on to address the camera, and all of the viewers who had been coerced into silence, told to maintain family secrets, and made to feel insane for expressing the truth. It's for you. Your narrative is important. Your truth counts. Jordan indicated that we were once more on the rise. I came to the conclusion that they organized an intervention to break me. Rather, they set me free. And now I'm assisting others in being free now. In the ensuing stillness, the red light winked off. I took a final look at my alerts. My father's parting message. I hope your work has met your expectations. I typed back a brief reply. Yes, I am. Are you happy with your actions? He never answered. He didn't have to. The truth was already out there, doing what truth does best. Ready to go live releasing people? Jordan inquired, practically rearranging the lighting in our new studio. I checked the monitor one final time and straightened my blazer. In contrast to the bedroom background where I had first launched my channel, the set behind me was straightforward yet polished. The live broadcast today would be different. Unique. As viewers streamed in, the number of subscribers on the screen edged above 5 million. 30s, Jordan yelled. It buzzed on my phone. The ruling by the Rachel Texting Bar Association was just made. Do you want me to tell you, or live with everyone else if you find out? Save it, I said. Let's maintain authenticity. The red light kept blinking. The conversation was instantly inundated with comments. Greetings to everybody. Family Unfiltered, a new series aimed at assisting people in identifying and escaping harmful family relationships, launched today. And let's start with some shocking information. Jordan gave me her tablet with the official statement from the Bar Association on it. As I read it, my hands remained still. Stanley Lowe has been disbarred with immediate effect after a thorough inquiry into his academic and professional transgressions. The conversation erupted. I read on. Franklin Lowe will also be disciplined for his part in trying to stifle evidence of wrongdoing. Both partners have resigned immediately, according to the Preston and Mitchell law firm. Mrs. Swanson sent a champagne emoji in a notice. Ross's message is underneath it. Justice was done. Keep up the good fight, but there's no need to celebrate. I addressed the camera. Consequences are at issue here. About the truth. The entrance to the studio opened. Jordan whirled around, prepared to put an end to any disruption, but she halted upon recognizing the person. In the doorway, my mother appeared smaller than I had ever seen her. No high-end attire today, no flawless cosmetics. Only a lady confronting the wreckage of her well-crafted facade. I went to my mother and said to Jordan, "Keep rolling. This live feed is private. How did you enter safety? I'll get up." I introduced myself as your mother. That no longer means what you believe it to. She wrung her hands and nodded. I understand. I simply had to say something to them and to you. She made a motion toward the camera. I looked for any indication of manipulation on her face. No one was found. "You have the floor." She entered the frame. The conversation became frenzied. "Simply put, I failed you," she said. "Not only with Harvard, not just with the intervention. Every time I let you down. I put appearances above the truth. Cadence's falsehoods always matched the story I intended to tell, so I let them remain. Why now, I inquired. Why acknowledge this now because I viewed your vids? Each and every one. Not only those pertaining to ourselves. The ones where you assist individuals get justice and expose corruption. I pretended to be someone who truly makes a difference, and you became everything. The number of viewers reached all-time highs. Everyone is observing the course of history. That doesn't solve anything, I said. No? She concurred. What we accomplished cannot be undone, however, perhaps. She stopped and took out an envelope. Others could benefit from this. She gave it to me. A check with several zeros made out to my new charity for aiding victims of domestic violence was found inside. "It's all I have," she said. "My jewelry fund, my inheritance, and my individual accounts. Make use of it to aid escapees. How we attempted to treat you." I glanced at her and then at the check. "You don't get forgiveness for this. I'm not requesting that I know. Like you, I'm simply trying to make the world a better place." The conversation was exploding. Jordan had big eyes. Nobody anticipated that today would go in this manner. I looked at the camera once more. Reconciliation is not always a sign of recovery. It appears to be borders at times, like the results, similar to the truth. And sometimes, it might sometimes seem like you're witnessing your abusers confront themselves. After giving me a single nod, my mother turned to go. "Mom," I called out to her. She hesitated. "I appreciate the contribution. The foundation will make excellent use of it." I turned back to the camera after she had gone. "And that everyone is the way we're beginning our family in its purest form. Real effects, real tales, actual transformation." The alerts continued to arrive. Viewers began to submit stories about their personal recovery triumphs and experiences. Behind the camera, Jordan dabbed at her eyes. That was ideal. I was done. That was the perfect topic for this series. Nor destruction, nor retaliation, but change. I took the check. Enough cash to lift hundreds out of harmful conditions. My mother's last effort at dominance had turned into a means of freedom. "Are you prepared for the following section?" Jordan inquired. I gave the camera a grin. Always, because there are more individuals to help find their voice, more truths to discover, and more tales to share. They made an effort to keep me quiet. Rather, they handed me a megaphone, which I intended to use.